In today's exciting video, you will watch Graham and Aidan try to prove that line segments GF and DC are congruent in these two triangles. Stay tuned to find out what happens.
Oh, hey. Hello. I'm sorry. You caught us off guard. We were catching up on some reading. My name's Aidan Burns.
And I'm Graham Corcoran.
And today, we're going to be teaching you about some congruent triangles and how we know that they're congruent.
Okay, so today we're looking at two triangles that make up what we like to call a bow tie. And we have some given information that's going to let us start off. Can I see the information set?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so we're going to start off by stating, this is one of the given statements, that line segment F, E, D, and GEC intersect at this point E. So that's number one. And then
That's going to be a given.
our reason will be a given, as that information was already provided to us.
Can I have a sheet, Mr. Graham?
Yes, sir.
And for our statement 2, we are going to have E is the midpoint, of the line segment GEC. That's also going to be provided. So that's what's that saying is this point E right here. This little dot is the exact middle of this line segment right here. We have G, C, and E is going to be in the middle of that, and that's also going to be a given. Or if you didn't want to write given again, you could just write these quote marks. That's a little handy tip from the professionals.
Okay, so for our final given statement, we were provided the information that line segment GF is perpendicular to line segment FE, as well as line segment DE being perpendicular to line segment CD. So, once again, this is going to be a given. Okay, so now we're going to look at the information we were provided with, and we're going to see what we can prove is congruent within both triangles. So we can see right away that E is the midpoint of line segment GEC. So when there's a midpoint, that means that it is divided into two equal line segments. So that provides the information that line segment GE is going to be congruent to line segment EC.
And these marks are going to mean that they're congruent. If we put a line on both lines, that's going to say that those two lines are congruent.
So we were right away able to say that we have our S. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to our actual statements that we have to, using the information we were given, to come up with ourselves to prove these two triangles are congruent. So we are now on step 4. Okay, so what we can see is that these two angles right here have a vertex of point E, and since they are in these two positions, DEC and GEF, that means these are vertical angles, and vertical angles imply
they're congruent.
Yes. So for statement 4, we're going to label these angle 1 and angle 2.
And this just makes it easier so we don't have to write out GEF and CED every time. So writing angle 1 and angle 2 just makes it easier to write down.
Yeah, a little less messy.
Yes.
So we have right here, these two are stated congruent.
And our reason for that,
Will
if you
be
could please write that down.
vertical angles, we're going to abbreviate for vert angles,
Angle sign. They're always going to be
imply
congruent.
they're congruent angles.
Yes.
So here is another statement that gives us proof that these two triangles are congruent. So since this is an angle, we'll add an A.
That's going to be an A. So now all we need is
It's
either
another angle or another side to prove these triangles are congruent. Okay, now we are on to statement 5. For statement 5, we're going to be looking into our perpendicular lines. So what do perpendicular lines prove, you ask? So the thing is, this makes perpendicular lines, when there's two perpendicular lines, they make up a 90-degree angle. And when there's a 90-degree angle, that's going to imply these two are congruent, because 90-degree angles are congruent. So what we're going to say, to start it off, this is a two-part process. We're going to say angle GFE and angle CDE
Are going to be congruent
right angles.
because
Okay, and then for our reason for this will be that perpendicular lines imply right angles. Okay, so this is the first part of stating that these 90-degree angles are going to be congruent. Now for step 6, this is the second part of it. We're going to angle GFE is congruent to angle CDE. This is step 6, and we know that because of the fact that all perpendicular lines form right angles, as I stated up here, but as well, all right angles are congruent angles. Because a 90-degree angle is obviously equal to a 90-degree angle. So we have these two are congruent. So that gives us angle, and a side. So now we have our three things that we need to prove these two triangles are congruent. So therefore, we know that the point of GCE. So we're going to say that segment GE is congruent to segment EC. So what that gives us is that 7 would be that midpoint of a line gives us two congruent segments. So this really gives us our S. So we have these two are definitely congruent, the vertical angles are definitely congruent, and we have our 90-degree angles, which we proved congruent.
So step 8 is going to be that we're going to prove our triangles congruent. So triangle FEG. F. Gotta write the triangle sign FED is congruent to DEG. And we gotta include the triangle sign. And this is gonna be because we have AAS, angle, side, is congruent to angle, side, and that's gonna infer congruent, that's not a congruent sign, congruent triangles. And then, but we're not trying to prove the triangles, that's just another step in proving that the lines GF and DC are congruent. So that's going to be because we're going to say GF is congruent to DC. And that's going to be because CP, CT, C. And Graham, can you tell us what that means, please?
So CPCTC means congruent parts of congruent triangles are congruent.
That's right.
So basically, since we have proved that these two triangles are congruent, we know that everything about them are identical. So therefore we can state that these two segments, GF and DC, are completely congruent and identical. And that is how we proved
Thank
these
you for
two
watching.
segments congruent.
Goodbye, YouTube.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.